And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Darian Talks UTSA. Football is back. UTSA is back on the practice field. Started today. I'm really excited because now the main conversation and the main topics can actually be about on-field stuff and all of this, and not so much the stuff that's off the field because it's been a lot of what we've been talking about in the off season. But now the guys are officially back in practice. I've been getting a lot of text and trying to just sort through everything, and it's all football related. That's what I'm excited about. UTSA Roadrunners are back. And I was super excited for this particular show today because it happened to fall on a Wednesday. Their first day happened to fall on a Wednesday, and obviously Wednesdays are show days for us. So yes, there's going to be loads to get into. I've tried to keep up with as many of the sound bites as possible. I listened to a lot of the stuff coming from Jeff Traylor. I've been watching a lot of all of the stuff that JJ Perez and some of the other guys who've been at the practice today. A lot of their takeaways and what we're looking like so far. So yeah, happy to get into a lot of that stuff. I already see that we have some questions right now in the chat, quite a bit. So we can start off hot there. I normally do my bit on a few topics that I like to get into, but I think just by scanning some of the questions, you guys are already on to some of the things that I'm going to talk about. So I'm just going to start jumping into these questions, man, and get this conversation started. Shout out to Mike. Mike is always first. Shout out to the person. Listen, I'm going to make a little competition. Next time, who's going to beat Mike on the first comment? Mike is like the man for those. So anyway, Mike says week 1 should have all conference teams winning with the exception of FAU and Temple. They have some tough matchups. Herman could pull the upset against Michigan State. Week 2 is where it gets interesting. And I'm assuming you're talking about all the conference teams. Yeah, all the conference. Listen, yeah, I noticed some of that too. Week 2 is going to be crazy. I think a lot of the times, especially with teams in a really competitive conference, you want that first game, you want to start building some momentum. And I think we are certainly scheduled that way, considering what we have in the subsequent 2 games after game 1 with the Texas State and the UT game. So yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think our conference is just going to be a tough conference. A lot of teams probably, or a program just in general, have a lot of the same thoughts in terms of, yeah, we want to get started off pretty quick. Teams like to start games with the win. You either want to start out with the win or you want to play a team that you probably have no business beating, right? That's kind of how you want to start. That's kind of how you want to start the season. So yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for week 1. I'm just as excited for week 1 as I am week 2. And well, that's not all the way true. I'm super excited for week 1 because number 1, I want to know definitively who our starting quarterback is. Number 2, I want to see how they play. And number 3, I want to see, what transfers are already going to, be some people that we can rely on early into the season. So like week 1 is going to be exciting, and I'm going to be up there with you guys hanging out and, having a good time for the game. So like, yeah, I'm excited for week 1 as well. I think a lot of folks are so caught up and wrapped up into that Texas State game. We got a game week 1 against Kennesaw State that's going to be an important game for us as well. And maybe we probably should go in there and beat Texas State based on the team that we have. But there's a lot of and I think I put this in one of the tweets before this show. There is a lot of questions that we all have that we've all been talking about in this chat for months now. There's a lot of questions that we have that's going to be answered on week 1. That's one of the reasons I'm excited. Mike says the way the schedule plays out and we take care of Texas State in week 2, assuming the schedule goes as expected, it'll come down to a showdown against Memphis at the Dome. Yeah, it could go down like that, but football is a tricky game, man. There's so much parity every single year, and there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees, especially in college football. We see upsets all the time. We see we see, people underperform all the time. Those are all commonalities in the game of football. And I think that we just have to be careful. We have to be careful also and not take any of these teams for granted. As I was talking about before, Kennesaw State, we definitely don't need to take those guys for granted at all. Because who knows, they're going to listen, just as we know, and we're very dismissive of them, and we're talking about Texas State and things like that. And I'm talking about folks on Twitter, because I was listening to Coach Traylor in some of his talks before, or I think he spoke to the media yesterday, and he made it a point to not acknowledge that Texas State game, because he said, I'm locked in on Kennesaw State. I think they asked him a question about some of GJ's Kenny's, the head coach from Texas State. They asked Traylor a question about some of his comments, and Traylor was like, yo, we got Kennesaw State. And that's the mentality that we all need to have going forward, because nothing. Listen, Memphis, for all we know, Memphis may not do anything. You know what I mean? Memphis may not be popping or anything like that, right? So I just think that we gotta take our time. We gotta make sure that we are doing our thing and not taking teams for granted. That's one thing we can't do. I have a new thing, so I want to say shout out to Luis Longoria for becoming a member. If you guys want to join as a member, it definitely helps out the channel. It helps us out. And I did release some members only content yesterday. So those of you members, you got sort of my key storylines that I'm watching for a fall camp. If you guys did get to see that yesterday, it's members only content. Shout out to Luis. Appreciate you so much, my friend, for becoming a member. It definitely helps out. All right, let's get back to the questions. Oh, yes, and members and super chats get priority. I know I didn't get to all the comments last week because we ran out of time. It's probably going to start being like that as the season approaches and as we start talking about real games and things like that. So if you're a member, if you leave super chat, you get priority. I won't get off the chat until your question and stuff is answered. All right, shout out to my man Jamie here. Jamie says, watch some of the players' interviews today and wanted to get your perspective on the character of these young men in comparison to maybe your teammates back then or athletes around the same age right now. Yeah, that's a great question. I think I watched them too. I watched in particular Devin McEwen and Brown, our nose tackle. Yes, listen. What I like, they all said the right things, and I think that's great. I think one of the things Coach Traylor mentioned today as well in his address in the media, he talked about how a lot of these guys have old souls, right? A lot of these guys are very mature beyond their age, and I think what you heard from those guys was that. I think McEwen knows that this is going to be a big year come from him. He has a lot of expectations that's heaped upon his shoulders, and I think it's deserved. I think it's well deserved. He showed a lot of talent last year, and I think that he knows that he's going to be a focal point of the offense in some capacity, especially early on. So I think he knows what's at stake right now. He knows what's coming. You look at Big Brown in the nose tackle. He's one of the top returning players on defense. He's been one of the guys that we've been able to consistently rely on for years at this particular point in time. He's turned down offers to go other places and things like that. That dude has his head screwed on straight, as we can see. And I think it's great. I think it's great. I think they all said the right things in terms of how it comparison to us. Here's the thing. I think I would say the biggest comparison to just the guys now versus the guys who came in when I was there is these guys they came in with a lot more hype. They got that attention. They're coming from big schools. They're coming from areas where they have expectations, and people do expect greatness out of them. They expect them to develop into excellent football players. They expect them to come in and drop the top as soon as they touch that field. And I think those guys, what I sense for them is they're calm and they're comfortable and they're composed in their space, right? They're composed in that space. They've been here. They've done it before, right? That's what I sense from them. And I think about us whenever I came in early on in the space, not necessarily once we got a little bit older and we had a few seasons under our belt. But I think about whenever the original 18 guys in I'll say the first 2 years, we were guys who wasn't recruited by a ton of folks. I had a handful of offers whenever I came into UTSA. I had, what is it? 2 official D1 offers come signing day, right? A lot of these guys have a slew of offers where they can, they go down to top 5s and stuff before they make a choice to take UTSA. And I'm like, I had UTSA and maybe 2 or 3 other schools, right? And a lot of my teammates at the time were in that same predicament. Some guys had a few offers, but a lot of us, had less than 3-4 offers, right? So we came in with not a ton of expectations. I mean, folks were just happy to have a football team. So we had chips on our shoulders. Some of us, I know for me, I'll speak for myself. Yeah, I definitely was a little bit more brash whenever I was doing interviews because I felt like I had something to prove. And I wasn't as composed as these guys are right now and things like that. That took time for us to get there, right? So I'll say that to me is the biggest difference. You can notice the composure. They're okay with the expectations. And I think their coach has a lot to do with that. And I also think what they've done in recent years has a lot to do with that as well. So they're comfortable in their positions and we'll see what comes. Eric Zarate says, outside of the obvious quarterback storyline, what are you looking for as camp gets underway? I'm glad you asked that question because, like I said, I'll plug this again. For members, I just dropped the video yesterday to kind of give people insight of the main 3 things I'm looking for. I'll share that with you guys now. So I'm looking at the transfers, number 1. Well, I technically put that number 3. So the number 3 thing I'm looking for is transfers. Which transfer is going to come in and drop the top? I heard Braylon Brown talk today about Johnny, the kid we just got from Oregon, Johnny Bowens, and how he said, I can already tell that dude's going to be a dog, basically. He basically said already that he can see by just a little that he's done already out there, and he talked about his get-offs and how fast twitch that he has at that size and how he's eager to learn and asking questions and having conversations about get-offs that early. So I think that's big. That kid's coming from Oregon. So I'm excited to see like what transfers that we get that we got coming out. I'm curious to see who's going to be that guy. Javi posted something that was super interesting, and it was just nice to see on paper and organized in a way like this. And he said, after looking at UTSA's updated roster, and I'm going to find a way to get to be able to show graphics and stuff on here as well, so I don't have to read this stuff off every time. But when you just go down a list of folks that we brought in, you got Ian Jackson from Alabama, Kendrick Blackshire from Alabama. You got Brevin Randall from SFA. You got Demontres Davis. He's not coming directly from Auburn. He has Auburn ties, though. Denver Harris, LSU, Texas A&M. You got Jamarius Lewis, New Mexico. Zach Morris, New Mexico. Jimmy Rourke, Stanford. Johnny Bowens, Oregon. Damian Wimberly, SMU. CJ James, New Mexico. Kamar, Missouri, Rutgers. Jalen Garth, Houston. Jonah Miller, Oregon. DJ Allen, TCU. 2 guys from Texas Tech, JJ Sparkman and Bryson Donnell. And then you got Frankie Arthur from UCF. Or I think he was, I don't know if he actually attended UCF, but you get my point. I think he was committed there or something like that. When you just look at it that way, that brings a lot of excitement. Obviously, them coming from those schools don't mean a ton in terms of will what they did or will their talent automatically transfer to UTSA. We also got to start looking at ourselves, differently as well as we compare to some of these other schools. But I thought one of the key things whenever we talk about transfers and why it's one of the things that I'm so intrigued by is I was listening to Coach Traylor today talk about some of the new guys that came in. And to me, it was very interesting. And I think it was, and he made a very good point to me of whenever he referenced these guys, he didn't say, oh, this guy's from Oregon. He said, no, that guy's, from Judson, right? That guy's from whatever high school he's from. That dude's from Marshall, Texas. That dude's from up there in Dallas. That dude's coming from East Texas. That dude's coming from Gilmer. That's how he referenced them. He didn't acknowledge those colleges because they're at UTSA now. Where they came from doesn't matter. But it is cool to see, we're actually out there hunting and bringing in some really, really talented guys. So I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like. Another thing I'm really excited to see for the number 2 thing, I guess, is who's going to be the playmaker on offense that's going to be who's going to be the next Joshua Cephas? Who's going to be that type of guy, right? Who's going to be the GoDaddy, the go-to guy on that outside that's going to do it? Probably Devin McEwen. He's going to probably have something to do with it, but will it be a JJ Sparkman? Will it be a DJ Allen? Is it going to be Amador? Who's it going to be? I'm really excited. That's the second thing I'm looking for. And then the obvious one is the quarterback situation is the number 1 thing that I think we're all waiting to get some resolution on. But yeah, those are the few things that I got my eye on right now. Mike says the players interviewed today and all used the word family when describing the program and why many stayed instead of leaving for more money via the portal. We have something special here, no doubt. I think that's a big one. But I also think that we have a very, very, very clear view and a clear example of someone, and I hate to do this because he comes up almost every other show, but we have that Zachary Franklin, and I wish Zachary the best. I hope that he kills it in Illinois. But we have the Zachary Franklin example, and a lot of those guys who are there now play with him and have relationships with him and probably know him very well, and they know more about the story than we're exposed to. They know more about what that experience like, what fell down, what didn't do what didn't do well, so on and so forth, right? They have, and a lot of those guys are also friends with a lot of guys across the country who are transferring in and out of schools, right? So what I say that to say, you are going to start seeing a lot of guys, if the program is doing well and there's a coach there that they're playing well with and they feel good about the conference and their situation and things like that, you're going to start seeing more guys say, you know what, I'd rather sit here, build a family. I found a home. I found a situation that suits me. Even if I can go get more money somewhere else, I don't want to break up where I'm at right now. And I think culture has a lot to do with that. But also the environment and the volatility of what it means to up and leave a great situation that you're already in. Because think about it. People aren't going to want you if you're not coming from a great situation. Well, I mean, some people will, obviously, but you get what I mean. Like, some of our guys, when people are going to want to hawk, they want to come get the people from UTSA, it's bigger schools coming to poach us, right? But the grass is not always greener, and I think we have prime examples of that, right? So anyway, that family piece is a big one, and we just got to continue to grow it. It just shows it's another testament to what Coach Traylor has built. It's another testament to what Coach Traylor has built. Elijah Davis says, I asked this last time, but any new thoughts on the 2-1-0 players this year? Not really. I think for me, it's the same. It's the same thing. Probably Oscar's probably gonna be one on the offensive side. It could be one of the running backs. It could be Kavorian Barnes on that offensive side. Devin McEwen could be a potential person for it. It can be a few guys. Well, JT Clark is an obvious one. I think you got to look at depending on what his play status is going to be. So, yeah, we'll see. I think on the defensive side, you got Brown who will have it, I'm sure. I don't think Jamal Liggin is going to go for a 2-1-0 since he already rocks 8. So I don't think you're going to see him in that jersey number. But the defensive side is a bit more tricky for me, just because there's a lot of guys, but I think you'll probably see some D linemen on the defensive side, honestly. Shout out to Mike. Mike's doing some promoting. Get them season tickets, 100%. Would love to see y'all there. The playlist says, shout out to UTSA. You will hear Cyrus Dumas a lot this season. He's the cornerback. Yeah, I can't wait to see who's going to solidify themselves as our starting corners. I can't wait. I keep hearing the name Devin Harris, so I'm sure he's going to be somewhere in the mix there. But yeah, man, I think that the cornerback position and that secondary position, just in general, is going to be a very, very intriguing position to watch. I, for one, am going to be glued in on those because it's my former position. So I'm going to be really excited to see what those guys can produce and how we look, considering that we lost Cam Alexander to Oregon and how good he was, and even Fortune on the other side, we lost him too due to graduation and things like that. So we've had some playmakers at that position over the years, and we see on paper we seem to have very good guys that's going to be able to come in and put in a shift and produce at that position. But corner is one of those things, man. You're going to roll a few guys out there and hope that they stick, but if they don't, you're going to start seeing people, them flow through the roster and give other guys opportunities, especially when nobody's solidified themselves. Let's see. ATX says the fall roster came out this morning. Did you see Owen's weight? He put on 15 pounds. Whoa, I did not see this. I did not see the roster, the fall roster. Let me see if I can find this out. I did not. How did I miss this? So they have the spring roster, but I'm looking for the fall roster. Let me know where I can find that roster, where I can find that link. Did the UTSA football Twitter post that anywhere? I'm sure JJ or someone posted it as well. Yeah, I would love to take a look at that if I can. That'd be great. Yeah, listen, if you put up 15 pounds, that's good. I hope it doesn't do anything to his mobility, but listen, he's probably preparing this. He needs some weight though. Let's be very clear about that. He's a thin guy. He's a thin guy. Okay, Javi posted the roster. Appreciate you. Yeah, he's a very thin guy. So yeah, him putting on 15 pounds is a good thing, especially if he's gonna be, he's gonna have to be able to take some hits, man. Like that's just the and I keep saying Braylon Brown. I knew I was screwing it up. It's Brandon Brown. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, he's got to be ready to take some hits. Period. He's got to be able to take some hits because you know how it is at quarterback. He's gonna, people are gonna miss assignments here or there, and guys are gonna get hit. It's just the facts. And they're gonna get hit a lot they're gonna get hit a lot when they're not looking. So that 15 pounds is much needed. And yeah, you know what? I'm not trying to I don't have it in front of me, but I would be curious at Kavorian Barnes' weight compared to last year. And I know I'm not weight shaming anybody. I just hope that there's a reduction in his, because I think that he lost a little bit of his explosivity last year due to him putting on a lot of weight. What seems like a lot of weight. He wasn't in bad shape by any means, but I think that beefing up a little bit to be able to absorb some of those tackles, there's a trade-off with that. And I think there was some trade-off in speed and explosivity and quickness. And I'd like to see him get that back, because I'm telling you right now, like that dude, to me, coming into last season, I was singing his praises a ton. I thought that he was going to be like conference player of the year type situation. And he didn't have a bad year by any means, but I think he could use that explosiveness. It's Rab says the only G5 game UTSA should be worried about is Memphis and Army. The other games are culture expectations. Yeah, Memphis and Army we should definitely be worried about. I'm sorry, but we got to be worried about Texas State too. Let's be very clear about that. That's a game. I'm sorry, but that game is going to be a very tough game. It's going to be in a hostile environment. It's going to be packed. It's going to be rocking. And if those Texas State Bobcat fans, if they're not going to do anything, they're not going to show up to any game and actually show themselves, they're going to do that against UTSA, especially because of what we've been seeing on Twitter. Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Like, they're expecting to break records and all this stuff. I know we're going to be deep to the extent that they I don't think they can do the whole we're only going to allot for X amount of tickets for UTSA. I don't think they got it like that, right? So I expect us to travel really well there. But yeah, I would add Texas State to that. Listen, we have listen, 3 G5 games on our schedule that are like that we should be worried about is significant in my opinion. And like I said, the Texas State thing is only because I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd be that much that worried. But who knows? Who knows, man? Matthew says, who's a guy on each side of the ball that no one's really talking about that you can see being a key part of the team's success this season? Keep up the great work. Thanks for that. And that's a great question. Oh man, you're gonna make me think here on this one. Who is someone on the roster right now that's sort of floating under the radar a little bit? On both sides of the ball. I'm going to say, and it's only because it's not that he's floating under the radar. I just think that there's other names that people continue to bring up at that position that I'm just hearing a little bit more noise about. And I'll say Amador. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he has real talent. I think from a slot standpoint, he can be someone that can be very, very dangerous. And he could be, who knows? He's the type of guy that I think that can just be sneakily, just he winds up with 1,000 yards. You're like, what's going on? So yeah, him. I like what he can do after the catch as well. So like, yeah, I would say him offensively. And it's not like I said, I don't think he's been slept on because I think a lot of folks are aware of his talent and what he can do. But, you do hear the names Devin McEwen quite a bit. You hear JT Clark quite a bit. You hear, especially what JJ Sparkman did at the spring game. You heard him a lot. Like they had him talk to the media after the game, right? Or after the spring game, right? So he's somebody that is getting a lot of pop as well. So yeah, I think he's going to have an opportunity to surprise some folks because I did hear Coach Traylor mention him today as well. So we'll see. Oh, and here we go. My man said, "I got a feeling about." We on the same page. We on the same page, my guy or gal. LRX 13. Shout out to you. Literally read my mind. Well, technically, I could have seen that first because you did that before I answered the question, but I swear I didn't see it. It's Rab says Robert Henry should wear one of the 2-0 numbers, being the best RB we have. Yeah, interesting. Maybe. Listen, he is certainly the most explosive home run hitting running back that we have. I like him a lot. I think he's getting a lot of momentum from a lot of just folks who are excited to see UTSA play. Because he's a home run hitter, bro. If he gets an opportunity to hit a seam and he has one person to make miss, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And what's funny about him, was not funny, but like I was watching some of the running back drills today, and I was watching him go through his cuts, and it's distinctly different from everything everybody else was doing. And he almost slipped. He almost fell. And I was like, I hope he doesn't hurt himself, but he gets so low in his cuts because I think he wants to explode out of them, right? And we've seen him do that countless amount of times last season. So I definitely expect him to be a pivotal focus on the offense. I don't know if he'll have more carries or anything than Kavorian Barnes, but he's definitely going to be a focal point. So I would have no problem with him getting that number at all. Okay. Want to do a couple things. First, I want to give the sponsors of the community a shout out. Shout out to my guys, Desert Dweller Sports Network. You can check out their 2024 Football Almanac at www.ddsn.us. Check it out. It's not just college football. It is NFL and everything. So check those guys out. Also, at least while it's still a reasonable amount, anybody who goes in and joins as a member and they select sponsors of the community, you get a special shout out. I put all of you guys it's only 3 of you guys right now, but I put all of you guys in the video description. I'll always give you guys a shout out. So shout out to 210 Danny and Rowdy Runner for being sponsors of the community. You guys help make this thing go. I appreciate you a lot. And then also, if you want to get some cool threads from 210 Apparel, but they're 210 Apparel on Twitter, but visit 210threads.com. You can get 15% off if you put code Darian24. So check that out and get you some threads, man. It'll help the channel. It'll help you guys out also because you'll get some threads at a discount. Why not? Okay, back to the questions. Oh, and also, like I said before, if you want to join as a member, it's in the description. If you want to leave a super chat, that's great as well. All right, back to the questions. Next question. Okay, Javi posted the roster. Anthony Aris Mendez says, shout out to Darian for getting us ready for all UTSA football updates news. Looking forward to seeing a flood of orange at the Dome August 31st. Birds up, everyone. Shout out to you for commenting. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll just try to grow the community, man. It's fun talking about UTSA football. It's fun talking about sports in general. And I love doing these interactive sessions with y'all. They're low-key, they're therapeutic for me, right? Because I'm so anxious for the season. I'm so anxious for what's coming. Talking to you guys helped me get through it. Shout out to Joey. Finally catch you live. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Appreciate your comment. And yeah, hope that you will be live with us a lot more. I do have a question for everybody in the chat, everybody who's watching. I am going to do, and I'll probably put a poll up on Twitter, but when the season starts, I'm going to do two of these. I'm going to do one that's going to focus on the after the game stuff. So like it'll either be the day of if it's an early game, I may do it that same evening, or I may just designate it for Sundays or something like that. But let me know which days, if you would rather it be done on like a Sunday morning or something like that, or when do you guys want that post game recap live chat? I want to do one of those, but I think I'm going to keep this one on Wednesdays consistently, and then have another one that might be a little shorter, depending on the questions in the comments. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys on that. But yeah, let's see. Okay, we got a member react, so I have to go first. Shout out to Tariq. Tariq says, "Let's go post-game reaction live." Absolutely. Same thing from Luis, new member. After the day after the game, please. Okay, yeah, I was leaning toward that 100%. The members are showing up for this. With Sunday react would be awesome. So Sunday it is. It's looking like it's going to be Sunday. That's what people are telling me. Perfect. Okay. I'll get back to the questions now. I know you guys are sick of me. Ooh, okay. We got another one. Angela says after the game. Okay. Cool. All right. Seth says, what do you think about Coach Traylor giving our wide receiver room high praise on their speed? Listen, it's something that he's been doing for a while, right? He talked about a lot of the guys that we're bringing in or that we've brought in and what energy and what skill set that they're going to bring to the table. And I think what's interesting about it is he talked specifically about we got a lot of straight line speed guys on this team, which means that it's not necessarily a situation where we're going to be throwing jump balls all the time like we did with Zakari and Cephas at time and JT Clark, which we'll still have JT Clark to be able to do that with. We have a lot of guys that we can just line them up and say, hey, you go beat that corner straight down the field, and we're going to throw it out there and you run up under the ball, right? So I think, listen, that's always good to have. I hope those guys come with agility, though, because agility, in my opinion, is a lot more important than straight line speed in football. So I hope those guys are just put in positions to where you're gonna be able to utilize that speed. I can tell you what you're gonna see when you have guys like that. You'll see a few route concepts with those guys. Number one, you're gonna see post concepts. They're gonna go what they like to do. This is not just UTSA, but Traylor likes to do this as well. But what they like to do is, and I'm finna go a little X's and O's, so you guys bear with me here. So you know how you have the hash marks at the middle of the field. So you have a left hash, you have a right hash. And I'm doing it by my left and right, so it's probably going to be opposite for you guys. So you got a left hash and a right hash. Some of the what you'll see is, let's say, for example, we have the ball on the right hash. We line up with two receivers on both sides. They'll put on this side, like if you have two receivers on both sides and we're on the right hash. Well, the receiver on the left that's on the outside over here, they'll send that guy on a deep post. Wide side of the field is going to be hard for the safety to play that. It's just going to be a difficult situation. It puts the safety in a peculiar situation, depending on which route concept, especially if you go double post. Now that safety has to make a decision. But what you may see is you have two guys go over here, and then you may send somebody underneath on a drag that's just running a drag right across the field. That top guy, that speedster, the speedsters that we have, they're going to have on that far side that's running that deep post. He's probably going to get a situation where he maybe get a virtual one-on-one, and they're going to throw that ball as far as they can. You'll certainly see deep post. You're obviously going to see fades, and you're going to see crossing routes across the field. They're going to either drag them, which is going to be a little bit more shallow, or you're just going to see straight crosses. They're going to try to isolate situations where they have these speedster receivers in a situation where we can get that, we can actually display that speed. You don't want them to be in route concepts to where they have to break, they have to cut, and they have to break. What those cuts and what those breaks does is it slows them down. You want them to be in situations where they can just run and make it a track meet. So I would imagine that we see some of those things a lot more this year. Coach Traylor said, hey, our playbook isn't changing much, but we're going to call some plays more than we called other plays in the past, and we're going to take some plays off the table based on the new skill set that we have at our disposal. So I anticipate us seeing some of those whenever we take shots downfield. It's going to be situations like that, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. Got a member question. Shout out to Harry. Been a member for 5 months. One of the GOATs. He says, don't always catch you live, but thank you for all your time and effort. Cannot wait to see what 2024 brings for UTSA. Thank you for being here, Harry, man. We're going to keep rocking. We're going to keep rocking, baby. 100%. Let's see. It's Rab says, yes, I saw that too. Also saw Barnes not hit the cones. Looked heavy. Yeah. I don't know. I hope he doesn't look heavy. I didn't like look at his weight or anything like that. Whenever you can only see so much. He was smacking those cones. Oh, you said not hit the cone. Yeah. So yes, I don't know what he was. Yeah, I seen that. I'm not gonna comment too much. That dude's a running back. He's a really good running back at that. I'm not gonna comment too much, but I seen what you saw as well. I don't know about the heavy part, but I seen what you saw. Eric says we're going to hear more from Owen Pee Wee this year. Okay. We might. Who do you think QB1 is? Yeah, I said this a few weeks ago. QB1, from what I've been told, what I was told a long time ago, is Owen McCown. But as I said before, no, didn't say this before. I said this on the members only content. As I was saying yesterday, at the end of the day, Coach Traylor is still saying that it's an open battle. He's still saying that both guys are running with the ones and twos. He said it's an open battle. I think, here's my thing. My best guess is Owen McCown will go out first. He'll be the starter. I don't think we'll see Eddie Lee Marburger unless Owen McCown does not perform well. If he starts throwing interceptions early and he starts looking rattled and the offense is sputtering, I think we'll see Eddie Lee Marburger. Here's the thing. I think, and it's a very real thing. At first, I was sort of the mindset that, like, I was upset that Coach Traylor is like, why is he not announcing a starter? Why is he not announcing a starter? But, like, whenever I sit back and think about this a little bit more, I tend to understand why he doesn't or why he hasn't. And it's because, and I've said this before, we've seen a small sample size of those guys last year. Now, from that small sample size, you can make a judgment based on who you'll throw out there first. But you didn't see a home run hitter yet. That's the thing, right? So until he gets a home run hitter, I actually think it's the smart move to say, you know what? It's quarterback battle, still open. And that quarterback battle could go into week 1. It could. Yeah, week 1 comes out and Owen McCown knocks everybody's socks off, throws for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, or something like that. Then I guess I'm sure he'll come out and say, "Hey, that's our starting quarterback. That's what we're rolling with for the year." But if it's not great, if it's a little shaky or something like that, and we do see Eddie Lee, like if we happen to see Eddie Lee Marburger um, um, in game 1, that'll be interesting. But that will really, in my opinion, show that they don't know yet. So that's what I mean. Especially at a position like that, the coach has to feel good and confident enough to say, you know what, I'm hitching, you know, my job to this guy, because that's exactly what they're doing. But I think Eddie McCown or Owen McCown will be the first quarterback we see. All right. Seth says, do you think this is the deepest we have been in the trenches on offense and defense? It certainly might be. It certainly might be. I think offensive line, from an offensive line standpoint, it could be for sure. Defensive line, we're always deep on a defensive line, but based on some of the guys we brought in and then some of the guys that we've retained, like, yeah, you losing a Trey Moore off the top is very difficult. But man, when I tell you we have a lot of guys that's going to be able to come in and contribute, I think we look very good. But that depth, that talent, and all of that stuff is on paper. We have to see how it actually plays out. That is what I would always tell folks, because a lot of the times whenever we start to look at the season and we start to look at, you know, what's the first game going to look like? What's the second game going to look like? How's UTSA going to perform this season overall? We build our own narratives. Like the narrative right now is UTSA is the deepest that we've been in years. And I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily disagree on paper. In fact, on paper, that's true. But we don't play football on paper. That's the thing. Football is not played on paper. It's played, you know, in between those lines on the gridiron. So I think, you know, we got to be careful about some of our thoughts on that. And that's not me saying that I'm not confident that we're going to be, you know, the guy's going to go out there and perform. I just want to, I just want to caution folks like, hey, let's be careful about some of this. Anthony says, thoughts on our O-line projection this year. Do you believe we stay with a core top two lineup, or are we going to see that entire group be changed up throughout the season? I'm sure there'll be some changes early, especially with a group that seems to be very talented, that seems to have depth. And I think if the coaches see that we have depth, you could see multiple guys. Also, O-linemen get hurt quite a bit. I mean, people are running into their backs, you know, all the time, right? So, you need depth at those positions. What you don't want to start doing, and we've had to do this before, is now we have to move a right guard to left tackle and a left guard to right guard, and we have to have our backup center come in and play guard, and our backup guard go out there and play right tackle or something like that. We've had situations like that in the past, which is not good. So I do think we have enough depth on paper that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about what they show in camp. What they show in camp is going to dictate what the coaches are confident in. Listen, camp and all of that stuff is all about gaining the coach's trust. For those of you who are playing NCAA or not NCAA, college football 25 right now, and if you've done Road to Glory, there's a like a XP gain on coach's trust, right? Part of that game is about earning coach's trust. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. That's one of the most accurate things I've seen in the game, honestly. Like, earning the coach trust is going to put you on the field. Whether you're a second or third string guy, a coach, if they trust you that you're going to be able to go in and do an assignment, make plays for the team, they'll find a way to get you on the field. And at that lineman spot, you normally don't like to interchange those guys as much because you want them to work as a unit and understand and build a chemistry there. But, we need to be able to do that too deep, at least at every position. That's a lot harder than people realize. Shout out to Albert. He says, "Am I the only one having trouble with UTSA O-line on college football? I'm sure everybody else is as well. I know I certainly have. I certainly have 100%. 100%. Shakur says, "How does the QB room look?" I think the QB room is just in general is going to be youthful. Coach Traylor talked about, the room, and he talked about, we got about 4 guys. And what was interesting is he did not mention Demontres Davis. That one was interesting to me. So I'm wondering what that means. I'm not saying that he's not there or anything like that. I just thought that was interesting. He mentioned he obviously said Eddie Lee and Owen McCown is his 1 and 2 guys, but he talked about Tennyson and he talked about our other QB Jax, or I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He talked about him. He didn't talk about Demontres Davis at all. But I'm not surprised because, like I said, you bring a kid in that late at the quarterback position, it's very, very difficult to put him in a position to where he's going to come in and just be a factor off the muscle. You might want to preserve his eligibility if you can. Jackson Gilkey, there we go. Shout out to Tyreek. That's what members are for. You guys helped the show. I'm telling you, man. Let's go to Albert second. He said, "I'm sure the Spurs went 6-8 and started calling for Pop's head in '99." It's San Antonio for you, ain't it? Oh man. Elijah is commenting on Albert's question about college football and UTSA's O-line. Okay. Seth says, "Do you think because UTSA has been spoiled over the last few years of winning that Coach Traylor has a losing season there?" No, not at all. Not at all. No. Listen, I'll tell you this. I'm coming for people. It's going to be I'm going to be rocking the desk if people are coming for Coach Traylor's head if they have a losing season. Listen, and it kind of goes back to this. I'll go back to a discussion I had with Farrah it was a long time ago now, whenever I, kind of relaunched the pod. And she made a really good point, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. It is not going to be like this forever, folks. I wish it will be, but it ain't going to be like this forever. We're going to one day have a bad season. It could be on the Traylor, right? It could be on the Traylor. And, he talked about kind of being fortunate and being happy that, like, he still has 2/3 of his team returning. He lost about 1/3. He said, "I'm okay with that." Because guess what? That means there's 2/3 of the guys on that team that he knows what he's going to get. He knows what he's going to get out of him. There's just 1/3, which is a significant chunk that he's going to have to figure out. That's where he's going to have to, put his attention toward and figure out what he's got to do, what he's going to do with those new guys that are coming in, right? So, I think that bodes well for us this season. But, like, what happens when the shoe's on the other foot? Where, well, we're not returning 2/3, we're losing 2/3, and now we're shifting in brand new guys all over the place. That right there can be touch and go. That can go either way every time. I don't care how good your program is, unless you're Bama or something, and you're getting the best recruits, every single year just because of your school name. So anyway, we have been spoiled. I'm okay with us being spoiled, but we should all collectively have some perspective and enjoy the moments that we have right now. Enjoy we all enjoyed those last 3 seasons. I think we're going to enjoy this season as well, but there's going to come a day where, UTSA doesn't have a great year, and we can't just call for somebody's head after one bad season. Chose One says, "Are you going to the lunch?" I don't think I'll be able to make it. My August is insane. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I already went over that one. Batfoy says, shout out to Batfoy. I ain't seen you in a while, Batfoy. Shout out. He says, I like that Texas State game 1 is at 7 p.m. and ours at 2:30, so our kids can watch it live if they want. Like I like that. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. They might be able to, because that means our game would be over 5:30 ish. They might. Yeah, they probably will. They probably will. Yeah, I mean, listen. Um, the coaches will be glued on TV on that TV screen. I can tell you that much. Shoot, I'm sure some of them are probably going to make the trip there, 100%. But wait, is Texas State playing at home in that first game? I'm sure that there's some UTSA scouts will be there. Let's see, Texas State schedule. Is their first game at home? Yes, it is. They're playing Lamar. Yeah. So not only will UTSA, be glued to the TV screens, a lot of them will probably be in San Marcos. Seth Garcia says, "Do you think that UTSA should get a matte orange helmet so it can be different from the blue and white ones we have?" That would be dope. That'd be. Listen, I want to see. I'll be honest with you. Like when I was looking at the college football 25, I would like to see us start getting a little bit more flexible on our uniform options again. I feel like for a while we had started doing it, but I don't know. I feel like we've been kind of the same over the last couple of years. Like, let's get them gray uniforms back, or the ones with them crazy helmets that we had that time that looked like they was like almost what was it, like metal? The metal looking helmets we had, or the all black. Like, yeah, let's we should all go berate our equipment team and say, yo, like, what's up? Let's get some cool threads out there. Seth says, they say if you look good, you play good. Absolutely. I'm with it. 100%. Bad for sorry I've been out. Always watching shows when I miss. Of course, man. I just appreciate you watching and love when you're here, man. You always ask some good questions. Let's see. Pioneer says, we are incredibly fortunate to have Coach Traylor. I doubt Coach will stay much longer without new facilities. Campos talked about getting a bubble over one of the practice fields. Okay. Yes. Let me talk about that. I'm so glad you asked this question. And I know we're almost at an hour. The reason I can tell that we're almost at an hour is because people start leaving. It's hilarious. Every time I hit 50 minutes, I start looking at the view count, and I'm almost chuckling every time. Anyway, I want to talk about this real quick. So I thought something was very interesting that Coach Traylor. So I seen an article, and I think I tweeted this, but I seen the article, and they were talking about the revenue sharing, and it coming, potentially the next season or whatever, where it will be involved. And in that article, they interviewed other schools across Texas and things like that. And I believe in that article, I know Texas State was in it, North Texas was in it, and a few other teams that are relevant. I even think U of H. I think they had a couple other schools from our conference. Anyway, nevertheless, they were G5 schools. There were plenty of G5 schools there in that they interviewed. And every single coach they interviewed already knew what the revenue sharing plan was. They already knew. Or a couple of them said, my athletic director has already told us that we're going to do everything we can to, make a splash with revenue sharing and paying the athletes and things like that. The thing that stuck out to me is if you read, and now this could be this could be stuff that the article left out. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't hear the full thing. But what was interesting to me was Coach Traylor specifically said, I'm sure Dr. Campos, is doing a good job, and I'm sure she's planning for that. I don't know much about what's going on right now, but like, I'm sure that's going to happen. Now, I'm going to take him at his word on that. And I just think it's interesting. Like that gap of communication there makes me feel like, yeah, we won't have Coach Traylor when somebody else offers him the right deal. We won't. He'll be running out of here because he ain't getting the facilities he wants, and there seems to be lapses of communication. And I say that to say, like, this is not something different that we've seen. We were late to the party on NIL. I know that for a fact. Or at least, okay, hold on. At least her buy-in, we were late to the party on that. And I don't think I'm breaking any news when I say that. I think a lot of that is obvious. Considering the fact that her first, to me, I mean, from what I've seen, her first public acknowledgement of those collectives was just a couple months ago in an email supporting that function. So fast forward to the whole revenue sharing conversation. I'm not surprised Coach Traylor haven't heard anything about it, because guess what? We're probably going to be late to the dance on that as well. What he did say is he don't think that we're going to be able to put up 22, like based on the revenue we bring in, we're not going to be able to get $22 million to be able to do some of that stuff. I don't know the logistics and all of that type of stuff, but to me, I just think that tells a little bit of a story. I hate to be like that, but it's the truth. We have a great coach who is wanted, he's already been looked at by some of the top schools in the country. And to me, small things like this, communication, getting some of these facilities that we do have the money and stuff like that, letting the price, because we're dragging our feet, letting the price increase exponentially over the years because we hadn't settled on, we hadn't made the decision to do XYZ. Come on, man. Come on. So anyway, I promised I wasn't going to go too much into that stuff and try to talk about football stuff specifically, but some of this I can't ignore because it's right in front of me, and I think we're playing with fire. I know we just gave him another contract and things like that, but we're playing with fire there. We're playing with fire because we don't want to sit here with egg on our face because, the guy didn't feel as informed as he felt like he should have been because the relationship wasn't perfect. Like that shouldn't be a reason that, we have a coaching departure. Case Holmes says, shout out to Case. I don't think I've seen Case comment before. Shout out to you if you're new. Make sure you guys like. I forgot. I can't believe I forgot about this. Like the video if you're still here. 57 minutes in. Like the video and subscribe if you're new. Appreciate you commenting, Case. White helmets with the orange chrome mask. That beat Houston. Yes, that was sick. That was sick. Wait, that's not what we had when I played. No, I don't know. No, I don't. That can't be what we had. We didn't have. I have that photo. I know we didn't have the chrome. Are you talking about when we beat Houston? I'm talking about we as in back in my day. I think you are. So I wore those. Yes, he's talking about us. I actually have that hung up on my wall. It's in my jersey thing with that photo of the Houston game with those white helmets with the orange chrome mask. Yeah, I have that. I had hope for Traylor to finish at least 5 years of his 10-year contract. Now that he's entering his 5th year, I expect him to leave for Baylor after this season. Do you see that happening? I hope not. I don't think he'd go to Baylor though, personally. Baylor, I don't know. I mean, listen, he could do well at Baylor, to be real, like because he crushed recruiting. Because he'll even be more closer to where he's from. He'd be more closer to UT or to UT and those, or not say UT. I'm sorry, East Texas, and where he really has relationships at. But I don't know if I see him going to Baylor. Honestly, the Black Bear unis was sick. Everybody wants to. I want them back too. I want them back 100%. They need to sell the UTSA football balls. I agree. They need to sell everything. Sell everything. We need more money. Okay. Angela says, didn't one of the games say blackout, all black? I think so, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to wear black unis. But I hope it does. That'd be great. But that doesn't mean that they're going to wear black unis. Seth says, when do you think they're going to put shovels in for the pavilion? I would love to know. It was funny. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Traylor made a reference to it today. And it was, to me, it wasn't I don't know. I felt like he was being a little cheeky because I think he said that there was I think it was a little overcast and they had a little bit of wind today, so it wasn't, the heat didn't kill him. And I think he said something about, oh, well, who needs a overhead pavilion, or I'm not even asking about the overhead pavilion or whatever. I just thought that was funny because I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm with you. You should have been had it already. It is what it is, unfortunately. But I don't know when they will be. I hope soon. I hope next season. If we don't have it now, I hope next year. Pioneer says I'm looking sideways at Campos. Man, like I try not to. I try not to, but like some of the stuff is just right there front and center. Like I think one of the things, and I'll end on this, but I don't know if someone reached out to me and I don't know if it was, I'm gonna say it anyway because I don't think it's bad or anything. But I noticed this as well, and maybe she has since. But in my opinion, and I'm looking on her Twitter right now, I don't see anything. Let me see if there's anything in the replies first. Yeah, I don't see anything. She's pretty active on Twitter for the most part. That football and helmets and heels event looked like it was just an awesome event, and it looked like it was largely successful. No tweet from her on that. Huge missed opportunity. I don't know. I mean, maybe she was in attendance. And if you're in attendance, that means a lot more, obviously. But I just think and I hope that there's nothing going on, or there's not like a reason, that's like serious or something that wasn't brought up. But I looked at a lot of those pictures because it looked like folks there had a great time, and they talked about how huge of a success it was. And considering, like, we want to talk about being, her support for NIL and things like that. In my opinion, how are you not there showing face for that? Like I said, I hope that there's not anything going on, or it's not something serious, but like assuming that there's nothing going on, like how are you not there next to April and Sarah? And maybe there's a official reason she can't be there or something like that. But I mean, Coach Traylor was there, so I don't see how she wasn't. But missed opportunity, in my opinion. Missed opportunity. To me, that's low hanging fruit. That is low hanging fruit. That is low hanging fruit, 1000%. So I try not to bring a lot of that up all the time, but I'm going to call a spade, period. It is what it is. I'm going to call a spade. So anyway, I appreciate you guys for being here with me. We are at the tipping point, same time next week. I appreciate you guys for joining. If you want to join as a member, check out the links and the stuff in the description, and we will go from there. If you have anything that I was not able to get to, just leave it in the comment under the video or reach out to me on Twitter. I'll certainly answer all your questions on Twitter as well. So peace out. See you guys same time next week. Burst up.